That morning, I don't recall anything out of the ordinary. It's a very normal day in the life of an adolescent attending school.
Everybody turn to page 52.
Our first period class is taught by Miss Kanabrowski. It's an advanced math course. The first real indication of a problem didn't occur until, Clay approached the door and came into the classroom several minutes late. He was obviously in duress and didn't look quite himself. He was very white in appearance, almost like the blood had shot out of his face. Very, white as a ghost, and he had a very distraught look on his face. I remember Clay drawing a small pistol from his pocket. Making it visible to everyone with a brief wave that he had a firearm. And just said, "I'm having a very bad day." You could have heard a pin drop. There was definitely a pause in breathing, a recognition that things were not right across the room. I can remember it being eerily silent, but not removing my focus from, this is Clay and he's got a gun. I was just trying to process, why is he in here and why does he have this? I can remember the adrenaline kicking in. Your heart picks up a pace. I can remember the cold sweat feeling, the panicked feeling of, this is real. I don't know that anything can prepare you for that level of hopelessness or panic, or that your body or mind have the ability to process that. It is a completely different situation than you've ever been put in before in your life, and God willing, would ever be put into again.
Clay, are you all right?
Miss Kanabrowski very calmly engaged Clay directly and said, "Clay, what's this about? Are you in trouble? Do you need money? Do you need a car? What's going on? How can I help you? There's money in my purse, take it." And I can remember Clay very specifically going, "It's not about money, it's not about that, I'm just having a bad day." And Clay approached the teacher's desk and sat down. Miss Kanabrowski engaged him again and said, what do you want us to do then?" Clay instructed her, "Just pretend like I'm not here. Go on with class, pretend like everything's normal."
In May of 1994, I was just completing my first year ever as a vice principal. I'm in my office at approximately 7 a.m. I open up my Bible to what I was going to read.
"My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge."
Did my prayer. It's always first raising the Lord up as the majesty for him, and that he is my guide and he's my savior. And then what I do at that point is keep me safe. Keep me safe. And Lord, bless these people, bless the students that I see, bless my family, bring me back safe to them. Thank you for what you give me each and every day. It's probably a little after 8:10 maybe, when the female student enters my office. And then she tells me that she went to Miss Kanabrowski's room to get her signature for a permission slip. and that Ms. Kanabrowski informed her that her class was being held hostage. And of course, I asked her to repeat that, because obviously when you hear something like that, you don't want to believe it the first time. Maybe I misheard what she said. She said, Clay Shroud is holding the class hostage. She actually named him. I didn't believe my ears. Why would Clay do this? What's going on? First thing I did was call the front office, told the secretary to call 911, we've got a hostage situation.
Right away.
And then at that point, it was snapping into what needed to be done.
On May the 26th, 1994, I had prepared myself for work. My wife had prepared a pot of macaroni and cheese that I was getting ready to take to my church. I was sitting at the red light at an intersection in Boone County, and when I got the call, the dispatcher announced that there was a kid with a gun at Raleigh High School.
I'm on my way.
I immediately turned right and headed towards the school. A lot of things go through your mind when you get that kind of a call. It's not an ordinary thing. Matter of fact, that's the only time in my career, 37 years, that I have ever heard those particular words used in Boone County, Kentucky. I have no idea at that point whether we have any injuries, whether the school's at hostage, whether just somebody that came to school that day with a gun and they called just to report it. At that time in history, we hadn't had a lot of school shootings. So the last thing on my mind was that there were going to be kids shot. What is a kid doing with a gun at school? What you do is you get your game face on and you start trying to figure out what we're going to do when we get there.
A kind of bright-faced, happy kid. Clay and I were classmates for many, many years. He was pretty soft-spoken and reserved and somewhat dark-humored at times. Clay could have done anything he'd wanted to. He had the aptitude and the ability and a supporting family that would have supported him chasing whatever he wanted to chase. Anything he wanted to do was his to do. It's impossible to associate that anyone is capable of what he did. It's part of the thing that makes it, even today, so surreal, is this normal kid, normal family, and something just snapped. There were some students crying in the room. The overwhelming reality of, I know I'm in trouble. I know that I'm out of control. I know that I want to get away, and yet I know I can't do anything because there's certainly something compelling enough here to tell me that I can't take that risk. In the midst of this, a female classmate of mine rose from her seat and approached the desk calmly, very coolly, very collected, not anxious, not antagonizing, and sort of kneeled down and hunkered over at the teacher's desk. I don't know if it was pure adrenaline kicking in or an act of empathy or purely of courage and selflessness, but she said, Clay, what's wrong? What's going on?
I know you're having a bad day, but...
Trying to comprehend, trying to appeal to him. I can remember other students in the classroom gaining their bearings momentarily and calling her name. What are you doing? Sit down. I can remember Miss Kanabrowski very calmly seizing control of the situation,
I think you need to go sit back down.
drawing focus to her.
This is going to be on your homework assignment, so
She begins working through the problems that we're working on in math class, and I can remember the classmate sitting back down in her seat after that point and not interacting again. I was only focusing on my closest friend in the room, checking on him as kind of a reality check for myself. Is this really happening? Is this really going on? The sense of time when something like this occurs is very surreal. When I recollect this event, this isn't an event that took 20 minutes or 22 minutes. This feels like hours. This feels like something that stretched out over the